Which footy team do I like the least? Hey Cardi, what's your second favourite team? It's the AFL team that
What
you
are
hate
your top
the
three
most.
AFL
Do you still hate
teams? What are my
Essendon,
thoughts on
Bulldogs?
Hawthorn,
What are my
the
thoughts on the
Saints,
Western
and the
Bulldogs?
Can you stop
My
speaking,
least
mate?
favourite team.
Please,
What's
like
your
the
favourite
comments. Enough! I've got to make this bloody video now.
Alright, well clearly this needs to be updated. It's time to do my 2024 version of my favourite to least favourite AFL teams. Alright, well my favourite team that will probably come to the surprise of no one watching this video is the Saints. I mean, I guess unless you knew, and if you knew and you don't know the fact that I do go for the Saints, subscribe. I'm not playing around here. I'm serious. Actually subscribe. But yeah, what else do I say? Obviously, I still go for the Saints. I go to the games every other week, do the vlogs. It's not any new information, is it? I'm not changing clubs, obviously, so I'm going to be a Saints fan all my life. Will I see a premiership? Well, that I can't really answer, to be honest. But yes, obviously I'm a St Kilda fan. Let's move on. You guys have been asking me what my second favourite side is, and that is going to be the Giants. Moving up 7 spots since the last video, and probably because the last time I did this, the Giants sucked ass. Now that they're good, especially after last year, the way they were playing, they were just one of the more fun sides to watch in the competition, the way they went from bottom 4 to a prelim final against Collingwood. I think everyone, all of Australia wanted the Giants to win, unless you're a Collingwood fan, obviously. The lack of fans mean there are no real supporters. That really pissed me off. They've never, won a premiership, and you'll probably see as a bit of a trend for my favourite sides. Sides that haven't won a premiership yet, probably going to be ranked a little bit higher in the list. And also, another reason why I have the Giants in second place is that they're the only team I follow, aside from the Saints, on Instagram. And that's purely because of what they post and all their memes. My third favourite side is the other expansion team in the Gold Coast Suns. They were second in my last video. They moved down just to 1 spot, but realistically, just like the Giants, they're a new side, so I normally cheer on them when watching them play. And they haven't got many fans like the Giants, so I haven't really got a problem with the fans, haven't got a problem with the plays, and I haven't got a problem with the culture. I think Dimmer Hardwick is going to start establishing a really cool culture for the Suns in the years to come. As a Saints fan, never really had an issue with Gold Coast. We've tend to always been able to beat them. To be honest with you, the only reason the Suns isn't in second like they were in the last video is A, the Giants do post the better memes, and B, I'm starting to honestly wonder if they'll ever make finals in their entire existence, because they keep on screwing up when they've got their opportunities to. I'll support them against the Dockers, and once again, they play crap away. My fourth favourite side are the Western Bulldogs. I've always liked the Bulldogs, never really had a problem with them. I've always had a soft spot for them, and for quite some time, they'll always consider my second favourite side whenever someone asks me. I normally say the Western Bulldogs, and that's kind of because they're a bit similar to the Saints. I feel like if there was any side you compare the Saints to the most, it'd probably be the Western Bulldogs. They play at Marvel. They got one of the smaller fan bases as a Vic side. When following a new team or a new sport, I've never really been a fan of supporting the big established clubs, and I wouldn't really consider the Bulldogs a big established side. And the team mascot, I'm a fan of the mascot, the logo, the colours, the jumper, the theme song. When I did that video, I rated it quite highly. My favourite colour is blue. My favourite animal is a dog. So it's going to help the Bulldogs case into ranking a few higher spots on my list. But they've dropped a few spots since the last few times because a few of the players are pricks. And I'm not the biggest fan of Bevo. Sort of dragging the Dogs down a little bit. And Blake, if you're watching this, stop bragging about the Western Bulldogs. Otherwise, I genuinely will drop them down even more spots. And I might not even end up liking the Dogs altogether if you keep being a prick about it. My fifth favourite side currently in the AFL are North Melbourne. And kind of like the Western Bulldogs, they're a small Victorian side that I haven't really ever had much of a problem with. Now I just want to see them do well. They've been in the bottom 2 for the last 5 years, and I'm starting to feel really bad for their fans. The fans that are loyal, I respect. And I won't lie, maybe 10 or so years ago, their fan base were a lot more difficult to deal with. But now that they're not very good, they're not really cocky, they accept that they're crap, and now I just feel really bad for the Roos. I want them to see them do well. I do like their colours, I like sort of the way they go about it, their culture in a way. And kangaroos, I like the mascot, cool animal. And I felt even worse for them after that Collingwood game and that Melbourne game. I was cheering them on in both those games, probably because of the fact they lost both of them. I've probably propped them up a spot or 2 in my list. All right, the final side that I can say will be put into my like category. In my 6th favourite club at the moment, we have the Fremantle Dockers. Definitely my favourite of the 2 Western Australian sides, because unlike West Coast, Freo fans realistically don't act entitled. They kind of know that they've always been kind of shit. They've never made it really to a grand final. Well, they have, but they haven't won a flag, and they've never really tasted too much success for most seasons, because majority of the seasons, the Dockers haven't even been involved in finals. I know quite a few Freo fans, and for the most part, I've never really had a problem with them. They're more respectable in the sense that they're not too cocky or arrogant, and I'd probably have them up a couple spots if they weren't so boring and dull to watch for the majority of the time. To be fair though, that is rich coming from a Saints fan to be saying that. My 7th favourite side are the Sydney Swans. For the most part, I do like the club. There are times where that isn't necessarily the case, so that's why it's just going to scrape in to the don't mind category for mine. And it is very rare for me to have such a successful team for so long this high in my list. It's normally the sides that are so good typically tend to be bottom on these lists. I think it would be the same for a lot of people. The reason why I do like the Swans quite a little bit more is A, they're not really a Vic side, so I haven't really had too much of an issue with their supporter base. But when I do encounter Sydney fans, it definitely helps that there are very few Sydney fans that are cocky. And you'd think right now, with how good they're going, they'd be one of the most annoying fan base in the league with how good they are, just so arrogant and cocky. But that's just not the case. Props to Roz Mackey. He's probably the most respectful Sydney fan I know, almost the most respectful AFL fan in general. And I can get around the Sydney club culture more than other sides that will be a little bit lower down this list. At the moment, I really like watching them play. I love the plays. If they begin to dominate the league in the next couple seasons, I'm not going to lie, they're going to have to start slipping a few spots. However, despite being 7th, right now, they're certainly not the 7th ranked side in terms of who I want to win the flag this year. My 8th favourite team in the AFL, we've got the Adelaide Crows. The Crows are a side that over the last few years, they've consistently gone up a few more spots in my favourite team rankings. I remember maybe 5 years ago, back in the day, they'd be a bottom 3 to 4 side 100%.
I'm going to have to go. They really tick me off.
Because of the fact that they'd always smash the Saints, they'd always beat us. They've gotten better as a side, and now I actually find them one of my more favourite sides to watch when they're on. The issue is now, they play like crap, and it's hard to watch a Crows game. So if they were playing a little bit better like they were last season, they'd probably be ranked a couple more spots higher, maybe in the top 6. I do feel really bad for the Crows and their fans because it seems like they get robbed on a weekly basis these days. And unlike Port, I respect Adelaide fans quite a bit more. So for now, they're 8th. They used to be ranked a whole lot lower, but if they keep playing like crap, maybe they will start just falling down a few more spots. Alrighty, just making the top half of my list, I guess, with my favourite clubs. We have Melbourne, and honestly, if you've known me for a bit, it's a pretty decent drop-off for a side that have basically been cemented in the top 5 for most of my life. Because I've been so bad for most of the, the time I've been alive, I've never hated them. They've started obviously become better the last 3 or 4 years. They won the flag in 2021. And they've started to become a little bit better, which has made me drop a few more in their rankings. Every Melbourne game right now seems to be really boring and not that interesting. I'm not really tuning into Melbourne games as often, which has put me off the club a little bit. And there are certain annoying fans on Instagram right now that keep defending, treating like the D's are the best side in the competition, that are kind of starting to lose my mind. Like, I've always rated the D's as one of the best fan bases of the comp, but I actually think they're one of the worst fan bases of the comp in certain areas. With that, and also, for a side with such rich history, a decent side for so long, they're piss poor in showing up to games. What's with their fans? Like, they only show up when they're playing well. I just feel like the D's are a bit of a meh team for mine. I still like them more than I don't, but they're not really the same Melbourne side that I used to have a soft spot for. Alright, my 10th favourite side in the don't mind category still, we have Carlton. It could be surprising, to be fair, that I've got a big Vic club who are now playing really good footy, not in the bottom 6. The Blues have been so bad for so long that right now I'm actually enjoying watching them play some good footy. Yes, there are going to be some bad supporters, and Carlton do have some pretty crap ones. Some are arrogant, some are just really annoying and have no idea what they're saying. Like, their logic actually makes no sense. But I'll probably say it makes up for the fact that Carlton have one of the better fan bases in certain areas. For example, Terry from Blue Abroad. It's made me enjoy the success of the Blues a little bit more this season than I guess if they just didn't document it. So that's probably why they've jumped up a few more spots as well. And the final side in 11th spot, to not be classed as a side that I dislike, a side I've had it for so long, we have the Hawk. Hawthorn have finally become that side that I can genuinely get around now, and I'd actually go out of my way to pay money to watch them play because of the way they've been going. They've actually such an exciting side now. At the start of the year, they probably ranked 15th or 16th because I've just never liked Hawthorn for some reason. It's probably because back in the day, they made the AFL boring to watch with their premierships. A lot of their fans were arrogant. I had an uncle that didn't really care much about footy, but when he did, he'd always shove it in the face of the Saints, who at the time were like bottom. And at the time, my sister changed from the Saints to the Hawks just to piss me off. So I've never liked the Hawks, but now I do, because of their club culture. The plays I can get around most. I really do like their plays. They've got the best TikTok page in the AFL, let's be real. I want to see them do well and play good footy to possibly make finals. However though, I can't have them too much higher due to some of the close losses the Hawks have had over the Saints as of late. And still at Hawthorn, it's going to take a little bit of time for me to have a side like the Hawks, a relatively big Vic club, rise up the rankings because I've seen them win so many flags and they've been so annoying for so long. But at the moment, I'm a big believer of the Hawk, and I really like watching them play, and they've done well enough to not be in my list of sides that I dislike currently. Alright, now we're entering the sides that I'm starting to not like, the dislike category, and to kick things off in 12th spot for my favourite clubs, we've got Brisbane. To me, the Lions right now, in terms of likability for myself, they're kind of in a no man's land, really. You know, last year, I started getting really sick of them constantly winning at the Gabba. There are some players for the Lions that I can't stand, to be completely honest. Like, even when they played the Saints earlier this season, a few umpiring calls really just made me find the Lions even more insufferable. To be fair though, with Brisbane, like last year, I really did want them to beat the Pies in the grand final. I do like the Lions more than the Pies. I know they were bad for a while, so I guess I've never really hated the Lions. This is probably as low as they've probably ever placed in my rankings. And it is hard to have a soft spot for a side that has so many bandwagon supporters now. There are so many bandwagons for Brisbane that weren't around 5-6 years ago. Pretty similar in positions. In 13th, I've got Port Adelaide. They're quite similar right now with where I see Brisbane. I've never hated them, but they're probably the two sides in the lowest spots they've ever been. Like, I'm starting to dislike Port Adelaide more and more as the years go by. When they make the finals, they're useless in the finals. They're pretenders. They make you think they're good, but then they just shit the bed, which is it's infuriating because I kind of want to see Port win a flag, but do they deserve to win one? Not right now, they don't. The last time I've been to a Port game where the Saints have won was in 2008, and the last time I think the Saints have beaten Port, apart from 2020, was in 2011. It's just like every year you feel like it's going to change, but it just doesn't. Port Adelaide have always been St Kilda's bogey side, which has become really annoying now. And I know we play next week, so if they do end up beating us in another close one, like there's a good chance they're going to rank a couple spots even lower in the list. Like, it's weird because I used to like the Power. Like back in 2010, they were probably one of my favorite clubs, and it was probably because of their color scheme and the Guernseys. I don't know why their Guernseys are so dull now, but right now I feel like alongside the fact that they've got one of the more feral fan bases in the comp, they're the Collingwood of Adelaide, in my opinion. And really, at the moment, the only thing I like about Port is never tear us apart.
And they could never, ever tear us apart! Come on! Come on!
Okay, we reached the top 5. Least favourite clubs, that is. And my 5th least favourite club at the moment are the West Coast Eagles. Now, I'm having on my notes that I've never been a fan of West Coast, but I had a look at some of my previous videos going through my favourite clubs, and surprisingly, they were in my top 6. I'm trying to figure out why the hell I'd ever liked the Eagles, particularly back then when they were really successful. We could never really seem to beat the Eagles as a Saints fan, so it's weird now that they're crap and I now hate them more. You'd probably think that right now I'd like the Eagles a lot more because they're an easy win. But the thing about the Eagles, you know, they've won flags. Freo haven't, if we're comparing them to the two WA sides. I've never really liked their supporters. Even now, they're still a little bit delusional and insufferable in a way. I don't know, I feel like comparing it to the Freo fans, even when they were crap, there are just too many of them that are sort of stupid, I would say. It's hard to relate to a side like the Eagles. I know they're bad now, but they've been good for so long. They've won 4 flags. And it's weird as well, most sides that are as bad as what West Coast were the last couple of years, I'd probably feel really bad for. But it was never really the case for the Eagles the last couple of years. So I'm not too sure why that would be the case. But yeah, West Coast, of the non-Vic clubs, I think that's the side at the moment that I hate the most. In 15th position, my 4th least favourite club at the moment, we have Richmond. Now, Richmond may begin to climb up a few spots in terms of favourite sides, considering they are now a side that suck again. And that's why they were one of my favourite sides from around 2017 prior. Because A, I used to play for a side called the Mitcham Tigers back in my junior years, so they sort of resonated with Richmond a little bit more. I like the mascot and the colours, and I also sort of wanted to see Richmond do well, because Richmond, you know, it took them 12 years to get into the finals in 2013, and this year, they're not so bad because they're so crap of a side, but Richmond for the last 5 years, I've just not been a fan of, and it's going to be hard for me to outdo my hatred for Richmond at the moment. Alright, the top 3, these are definitely officially sides that I hate in the AFL. We've got Collingwood as my 3rd least favourite side, and it isn't a shock having the Pies this low on the list. I feel like, are you really an AFL fan if you've got the Pies high on your favourite sides list? It's either you love them or you hate them, and I've just never really been a big fan of Collingwood. Despite them sitting 3rd last on this list, I actually do like the Pies more than I used to, particularly around that Buckley and Malthouse era. Collingwood do have a really scummy fan base, so it doesn't help how they keep finding these really close wins, because Collingwood fans just don't stop bragging about it on social media. And it's starting to really piss me off how they keep getting these close wins, because I've been supporting the other sides in every single one of those games, like against North, like against Adelaide. And I'm envious because I'm a Saints fan, and St Kilda don't win in close games, we just lose in close games. And by the way, with Collingwood, I won't be forgetting 2010 nor the replay. So yes, there's no way I can have the Pies that high on my list. Alrighty, the bottom 2 now. The 2nd least favourite side in the comp, we have Geelong. The Cats, they've always been high up there in terms of sides I've never liked, and for as long as I can remember, realistically, that's been the case. Like with Geelong, they're in the finals basically every other year, and over a certain amount of time, you start getting sick of it. Like honestly, Geelong, give other sides a chance of making the finals for once. And then obviously when the Cats do make the grand final, I feel like every single grand final I've watched in my lifetime with the Cats being involved in it, it's basically sucked. We haven't seen any close games apart from one.
Farko, handball's over. It's a snap. Ball Chapman, and Chapman's kicked the goal.
But with all that, I'm starting to slowly like the Cats a tiny bit more than I've used to in the past. Probably helps because of the fact that I've started to begin getting around the Cats a little bit more through, you know, Lockie, Jake, Chappie, Goat HQ, you know, Ripper and Fripper. It's always fun to get to a Cats game and be involved with all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, I'll never like Geelong. Alrighty guys, and for my least favourite club, you guys have all been waiting for this moment. Drum roll please. I don't know why I did that. It's obviously Essendon. I mean, you can tell with the format of the video. Yes, if you've known me for a while now, you would know that I hate the Bombers. I've hated their side for quite some time now. But really, over the last 5 years, the Bombers have really cemented themselves as a side that I've genuinely hated. They're still, in my opinion, the worst supporter base in the league. And every time I have a bad experience with like a fan, they're normally Essendon fans, the ones giving me rubbish at games for no apparent reason. They consistently beat the Saints in the most frustrating ways. Yeah, normally the more successful sides are the sides I hate more, but Essendon, they're an exception. And really, if they make finals and go deep, I don't really know if I would want them to do well. Like, would I be cheering them on? I'm not too sure because I really don't like the Bombers. And I know you guys probably already do know that. And just like that, that'll round out my list for the 2024 version. I might update one of these every 1 or 2 years. It seems like it always seems to chop around and change. For anyone that asks in live chats, by the way, just link them this video. If they ask me what teams I like the most, what teams I like the least, this is the video for that. Leave a like, subscribe, and we'll see you soon in my next video.